What's up gamers, welcome back to another episode of Video Game Brains. I'm Ginge the Ripper, and before we get started, I got a new microphone. Hopefully it sounds better. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Miguel is terrible at Smash. I repeat, Miguel is terrible at Smash. In the last episode, we started talking about Zombies Ate My Neighbors for the SNES. We have a few more things to talk about, then we can move on to the Genesis version. There is something I forgot to mention in the last episode, but it's hard to write a script while you're fighting off zombies. You have an unlimited amount of space in your inventory. The more items and weapons you collect, the more you'll have to sift through until you find the one you want. You can only scroll in one direction, so if you overshoot the one you're looking for, you have to cycle through the entire list again. This is why you saw me throwing away a lot of weapons in my last video. I picked them up to show you how they worked, but threw away the brains I don't use. I had to make a quick edit to the script because I found something while capturing the background music for this video. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture footage of this. When you're zombified by a potion, your character is attracted to neighbors, and if you touch one as a zombie, you'll eat them instead of saving them. By my count, Zombies Ate My Neighbors has a total of 24 different enemies, including bosses. Zombies, evil dolls, and chainsaw masked men are just the tip of the iceberg. Have fun encountering them all. When you get to a boss level, most of the time you'll have to fight the boss to move on, but there are some exceptions. The first boss you fight is a giant baby in level 8. A few of your victims are locked behind a skeleton door. If you manage to get lucky and find a skeleton key before this level, you can collect your neighbors and leave without having to fight the boss. However, if you choose to defeat it, it gives you a skeleton key and turns into a regular baby, which you can collect as an extra brain. If your victim count is below 10, the baby will increase it by 1. Monsters are relentless, but there can never be more than 8 of them on screen at a time. This can be used to your advantage. Getting weaker enemies to follow you can keep stronger enemies from spawning, like werewolves. Sometimes they're regular enemies that are just as relentless as other monsters, and sometimes victims can turn into werewolves, reducing your victim count mandatorily. If you have 8 regular zombies following you, you can collect your neighbors without them turning into werewolves. Each enemy is weak to a different weapon. It's fun to try them all out and see what works best for you. Most bonus levels can be accessed by collecting the brain icon hidden in various levels. These levels usually contain an extra life and a few other goodies while keeping the victims in a small area, allowing you to collect them without worrying about the enemies. One of the bonus levels is different from the others, and difficult to reach. It's a pretty difficult level overall. You have to complete level 12 with all 10 neighbors, which means your victim count has to be full when you get there. In this bonus level, victims are scattered like a normal level. You have to find and use various keys to unlock doors to reach them, and other goodies you want to grab, while dodging some of the tougher enemies in the game. Certain bonus levels can be brain with passwords. BCDF sends you to the first bonus stage before throwing you into level 1, allowing you to snag an extra life and some other goodies before starting the game. You also get a bazooka that allows you to collect the bonus icon in the first level that sends you back to that same bonus level afterward. The art in Zombies Ate My Neighbors is beautiful. Zeke and Julie's designs are very unique, and being able to play as both a boy and a girl helped draw in a bigger audience. There are a colorful cast of victims to collect as you progress through the game. You've got cheerleaders, teachers, pool idiots, grillers, tourists, babies, dogs, explorers, soldiers, trampoline girls, and Dr. Tongue's assistant, Dr. Bug. When a victim gets killed or eaten by a monster, they turn into a ghost and float away. Even the monsters have some unique animations. Another cool thing that was added to the game was giving each level a unique name, most of which are monster puns of old 90s references. Here are a few of my favorites. We can't talk about Zombies Brain My Neighbors without talking about the music. Each track is catchy and immerses the player in a monster-infested thrill ride. Each track matches the tone of each level, keeping the players on their toes. Take a listen. The Genesis version of the game released a couple months after the SNES. The game was tweaked with a lot of changes. Since the Genesis version only had 3 buttons, the brain had to change to work with it. Let me explain. The standard SNES controller has 4 brains lined up neatly for a comfortable playstyle. Y uses weapons, X uses items, B swaps weapons, and A swaps items. L and R toggle your map. On the Genesis controller, A uses weapons and B uses items. To swap weapons and items, you have to hold down brain while pressing the button that corresponds with the inventory you want to cycle through. As you can imagine, this is a very tedious way to play. Luckily, the 6-button Genesis controller saves the day. The only difference is that the brains do the opposite of the NES controller. A uses weapons, B uses items, X swaps weapons, and Y swaps items. There's also a settings menu on the Genesis version that allows you to change the button format, but not one that brains the NES controls. This isn't a big issue, unless you're a YouTuber trying to capture footage for both games at the same time. I will digress a little and brain that out of all the D-pads I've ever used, the Genesis is the most responsive and the most comfortable. Some of you might be wondering, what about the buttons for the map? Well, the Genesis version doesn't need a map button because brains!
What's up, gamers? I'm Kevin. Ginge just died, so I'm taking over the channel. As Ginge stated earlier, a lot of changes were made to the Genesis version of Zombies Ate My Neighbors. The biggest difference was the addition of the menu bar to organize the player's equipment. The menu bar can't be turned off and takes up a third of the screen, giving the player or players a smaller window to play on. This is a big issue. When victims are far enough off the screen, they can't be eaten by monsters, and all non-boss monsters disappear, allowing new monsters to pop up on screen. Instead of replacing the screen, the menu bar is covering it up. So even if neighbors on your right are out of your field of vision, that doesn't mean they're safe. Having this shorter field of vision isn't so bad if you're playing by yourself, but it's a bit of a nightmare to play with a friend. The Genesis version runs a little slower than the SNES, and the flamethrower, the strongest weapon in the game, was removed for unknown reasons. It's for these reasons why most people prefer the SNES versions over the Genesis version. Another change you'll notice right away is the color of certain characters, Julie being the most obvious. On the selection screen, she is clearly wearing a purple hoodie, but in-game, she's wearing a red jacket and yellow shorts. A few of the victims have different color palettes as well. I'm not sure why this was done, but if I had to guess, I'd say it was to help differentiate the Genesis version from the SNES version. Another difference is the game over screen. On the Genesis version, the purple ooze was changed to blood. Red was the original game over screen for the SNES, but it was changed to purple to censor the gore. Some bosses take more hits to kill on the Genesis version than they do on the SNES. This is a little tedious, but not too big of a deal. Some items in the Genesis version were misplaced. The first one we noticed was in level 8. At the bottom right corner of the screen in the SNES version, there's a Pandora's box you can reach by blowing a hole through the wall. In the Genesis version, there's a weed eater in its place. The Pandora box can still be found in this level behind a tree on the other side of the level. Usually you'd want to stick to the right side of the stage and spam attacks that do a lot of damage and kill the boss quickly. Most of your victims are scattered within the boss's arena and can easily be trampled by it. By sticking to the right side of the arena, they are out of camera sight and out of harm. Getting back to the Weed Eater, it can hold up to 999 gallons of gas. In the SNES version, every Weed Eater you pick up adds 300 gallons of gas to your weapon. In the Genesis version, they only add 200 gallons. This may not seem like a big issue to anyone who hasn't played this game, and to you I say, shut up. You run out of gas way too quickly. You have to be conservative with it even in places you can't. It's like they purposely decided to make the game even harder to mess with the players. There is one positive change that was added to the Genesis version. An extra song was added that plays in certain levels, the first being Mushroom Men, the second bonus level in the game. Take a listen. The music in the Genesis version is distorted and sounds different from the SNES. Ginge likes both versions of each track, so it doesn't bother him. That does it for the differences between the two games, but before we go, I've got a few fun facts for you guys. There's an unused song that was planned to be included in the SNES version in a bonus stage. There's a link to it in the description below. The name of the game was changed in Europe to just Zombies because Europe has stricter rating systems than the US. Because of this, another change had to be made as well. The hockey-masked men carrying axes instead of chainsaws. This doesn't affect the gameplay. The game still looks and plays really well, or at least that's what Ginge told me. Well, that's it for this video. Let's see, what does Ginge usually say here? Thanks and continue gaming or whatever? I don't know, I don't watch his videos. Have fun.
Hey guys, I'm sorry this video was a little late. All my candidates for the last half of this video had to cancel for one reason or another. In these trying times, I care more about their safety than I do my own videos. I hope you understand. A big thank you to my beautiful assistant Kevin for stepping up to the challenge in their stead so we could get this video out as soon as possible. Thank you guys so much for watching and keep on gaming.